Penguin Random House Audio presents Shoutin' in the Fire, an American Epistle. This is the author, Danté Stewart. For Jasmine, Asa, Ava, and all who dream of love and liberation. Here you were to be loved, baby, hard at once, and forever to strengthen you against the loveless world. James Baldwin, My Dungeon Shook. Introduction. The Fire. There is an old King James Version Bible sitting on my bookshelf. It is black, rugged. The gold lining on the pages shines as light hits it. The jacket is missing, and the threads have loosened from one another over the years. It has been tried. It has traveled across the South, across time. Now it sits on a shelf where it keeps the company of books written by black folk. Black folk who have read a similar Bible, who have wrestled with it, been confused by it. Black folk who have held it as tight as I do today. When I open up this old Bible, dusty words emerge, conjuring up memories of poetic sermons and sweaty mics smelling like old metal and stank breath. I am suddenly surrounded by preachers and mothers and friends and saints and sinners who tried to love and live well while failing, learning, and trying again. When I read these ancient scriptures, I hear the way they flow from my mama's lips. What was it about this book that kept her up in the middle of the night, calling on the Lord, calling out our names, calling out things that she imagined possible for all of us? What was it that kept her crying out when the world around her is burning? When she recited scripture, she spoke it poetically, adding the old eth at the end of words like the King James Version did. Those words carried the divine. It was as transporting as fiction, yet nothing like fiction. Something you can only call magical, yet nothing like magic. The words were an entire world, but they were also in her black body, in this white country. These words carried both weight and worth and worship and worry and whatever W words you can describe, words that put you back together again when you, your body, and your country are shattered. It was honest. It was close. It flowed from her heart and her lips. This was her language. It was the language of my grandmother, the language of her mother, the language of all the black folk between our yellow house, my grandmother's red brick house, and the white stained brick church that told us we were somebody. Indeed, to hear this language is to hear the voice of God upon us in a land that has never truly known God, or love, or blackness. That is the interesting thing about living in America, and being black, and doing both while being a Christian. We are caught between a terrifying and inescapable reality: the Bible, the country, and the body. So when my mama prayed this language, she was praying against the country that has been decided for us. She was praying against the same reality that she grew up caught in between. My mama learned this language in 1960 South Carolina, in a world anointed by the sermons of AME preachers, black revolutionaries, and working class and poor people. She took this language, borrowed from scripture and sermon alike, and used it to protect us, cover us. She made sure we learned this language too, of prayer and hope, of resistance and creation. When we were growing up, our house was full of these kind of sermons. Black people singing songs over Sunday dinners, arguing over the ways we have failed one another, discussing black books and black art and black schools and black love and black food and old pictures of afros and bell-bottoms. It was all black language, a way of taking back what was stolen from us, taking back the love that we lost, taking back our bodies from destruction. It is a language they at once inherited and created. It is a language we too inherit and still create and stretch and revive. Even to this day, my mother still calls out those old familiar words to me. I've taken them to be my own words. These words may never deliver us or shake the foundations of the country, but they've brought us this far. And still today we continue finding ways to create and name all that is meaningful and loving. We know that we will have to learn how to breathe through the suffocation, live through the terror, and find ways to take those old black Bibles and those old black books and our tired black hearts and our weary black feet and be there for one another in ways black folk have done before, in ways our black mamas learned, in ways our black daddies taught us. I don't know if our country has taken the time to look itself in the mirror, to question the ways it keeps us up at night and makes it hard to pray. I wonder if the country I love can imagine itself as being better than the ways it has learned to be terrible. I fear that the same country that my mama had to live in is the same country my children and theirs will have to live in. As I live and move and have my being in this country, I wonder to myself, how do I be black and Christian and American? So I return to this old King James Bible and our black prayers and black sermons and black songs and black poems and all the ways black folk have learned to live in a country that does not love us. I return because I have so much more to learn about love and how to love in ways that are honest and brutal and beautiful. I return because there is something to be said to me. I don't go to that old Bible and our black books and words to convince myself that the terrible things will eventually get better. No, I return because I know there is something about these words that the old black country folk held on to in the burning. One morning last August, my body felt heavy as I slowly made my way downstairs to make my coffee. We had somehow endured yet another summer of violence, this time just with more of the world's attention. The sun crept through our windows. My son was sleeping soundly, and my wife was asleep upstairs. I was struck at how ordinary this moment was. The house was still, quiet. Yet chaos ravaged my mind, my body, all the way down to my feet. A gnawing rage and sadness sat trapped in my body. I didn't want to feel anything, but I knew I must feel everything. I needed a way to think about all of the hell that was happening in our country. Numbers that kept climbing, public lynchings, hashtags, eulogies. So I sat at our wooden table and cracked open my dusty Bible to join the cloud of witnesses, to see the ways they held their crosses, feeling every splinter, and to see the ways they were led at night by fire. As I sat and sipped, I listened. As I read the Hebrew Bible, I'm struck by two main verbs that refer to waiting. One is to wait with expectation. The other is to wait in the tension of enduring. It is not passive. It is an active struggle to live in the face of despair. I think of my mother, the ways in which she would conjure up Old Testament stories, making dead bones come alive, turning and twisting words like lyrics from love songs. She loved telling a story about the three Hebrew boys in the fire. The three boys who endured unspeakable horrors, who had the audacity to live and dance and to shake off the chains, was not just a good story. Their bodies, their struggle, and their surviving was my mama's own. When I think about my mama and how much she and all those black folk held on to old stories, I don't just see people who courageously shook kingdoms and who preach audacious messages of liberation. I also see people who know what it means to live with deep trauma and still love themselves enough to believe in their future. I see them like the prophets, trying to shake kingdoms and rock souls and straighten bodies back up again and love us in simple ways that cooled our bodies and cooled our spirits and stopped our trembling. To believe in the better, to believe in your future, to shout in the midst of a country on fire, to stare down lions, to shake the foundations of the empire, to make meaning in the face of death, to fail, to create, to live, and to love. This is the stuff of hope. It is not an ascent to nostalgia, or myths, or lies. It is the audacious belief that one's body, one's story, one's future does not end in this moment. The three Hebrew boys that my mama loved to talk about underwent two fires, a physical burning in a furnace and a prolonged burning set ablaze by empire. These boys didn't simply make it through the fires somehow just embracing the violence of the empire.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?